In this movie, we're going to continue on with the ammo manager here. So I've configured the object to be a singleton instance, but in addition to this, I'm going to need to actually populate this array here so that when the level begins, the ammo prefab will be generated in the scene to fill this array according to the pool size. So I'm going to create a completely new function here, which is going to be the start function. Remember, this happens when the level begins, although it happens after the awake function. So here inside the start, I'm going to start to create this ammo array here. So I'm going to select the ammo array, and we need to initialize it to the correct size. So that's going to be a completely new game object, and it's going to be of the size pool size. So I'm going to select pool size here and paste that into the array subscript operator to make the ammo array the correct size. Then after I've created that array, the array will be initialized as a completely empty array specified to the pool size in terms of the element number. What I want to do now is to instantiate, that is to actually generate a number of ammo prefabs to fill the array. So to achieve this, I'm going to use a for loop here. So I'm going to choose for int I, and we're going to be looping for the pool size here. And then as we loop through the array, I'm going to be populating each array element. So I'm going to choose ammo array, and again, it's going to be for this iteration. I'm going to choose instantiate, and we're going to be instantiating this time, as we've seen before, the ammo of prefab here. So I'm going to choose ammo prefab. And then the next parameter, of course, is going to be the position of the object in the scene. So by default here, I'm going to be specifying that this is going to be vector 3, and I will say initially .0 here, because we don't know exactly, although the ammo is going to be generated into the scene, it's going to be generated at the origin, because the ammo object hasn't necessarily been fired yet by any particular weapon. We don't know the position it should be at right now. We're simply holding it inside a pool somewhere else in the scene. And the rotation, of course, is going to be quaternion.identity. And I'm just going to typecast this as a game object to indicate to Unity that what we are generating is a game object, and we're specifying that inside the array. Now, of course, I want these ammo objects to be generated in a pool, but I want them to become child objects of the ammo manager. So to do that is pretty simple. All I need to do is to access the transform component of the object. So I'm going to choose transform here. And again, remember to put the uppercase T because we're specifying a local variable. So I'm going to choose object transform, and it's going to equal get component. And I'm going to get the component, that is the component of the transform. Actually, I'm getting the wrong component here. It's going to be the component of this array element. So I'm going to choose array element here, dot get component, and we're getting the transform component of the newly generated ammo object. And we're going to be accessing that, or we're going to be making that a child object of the current object. So I'm going to choose object transform dot parent. The parent object is simply going to equal the transform component on this object here. So I'm going to choose transform like so, and press Ctrl S on the keyboard to save that code. Now I want to give this a test here. So I'm going to minimize MonoDevelop and go back to the Unity editor. The code goes ahead and compiles. I'm going to drag and drop the ammo script here onto the ammo manager object and select the ammo manager object. Notice that by default the pool size is specified as 100 here, and when I press play on the toolbar we should see 100 ammo objects generated as children of the ammo manager. Now before I do that, actually notice that the ammo prefab field is currently set to none. To populate that, I'm just going to drag and drop the ammo object into the pool here and then press play on the toolbar. And when I do that, notice if I open up the object here, you can see we have a pool of 100 ammo clone objects. So that's excellent. We've generated the batch of objects inside the ammo manager. We still, of course, need to manage when these objects are shown and hidden.